What's up, everyone? Aaron Negler here, Cheesehead TV, coming to you live on the old YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed yet, do it, people. I'm sick of begging. In the meantime, the rise of Skywalker. Okay. I'm going to try not to talk Star Wars, but it's going to be really, 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 really hard. Happy Friday. Not a ton of Packers news to talk about, but I always want to see what's up with Packers fans worldwide. That's what we do here at Cheesehead TV. We're dedicated to you folks. So even though it's Friday, even though it's late, still got to jump on, say what's up. Hello to everybody jumping in. Lupo with the worst comment in the history of YouTube. Next, convince me why I should want the Star Wars series. Why should I convince you? I don't care if you want it or not. What's up, Tim? Carlos, what's up? Speaking of the Packers, how badass was the race scene in the trailer? Exactly. She's got that's got to be Kylo training her, right? I mean, that's not an actual fight. I mean, that's got to be. I mean, it looked cool as hell, though, right? Josh Sitton should make the Packers Hall of Fame. I tend to agree, Herbert. He was a key component on the offensive line, one of the best players in the league at his position. I'm all for it. You haven't seen the trailer, Tim? You need to fix that as soon as we're done here. I've never watched Star Wars. Cool. Bold prediction for the first round, Green Bay and not Green Bay related. Good question, Matt. Bold predictions. I will find it much more entertaining than I normally do. And as far as the Packers go, I think they don't do anything really surprising because I don't see Gutekunst as a guy who's going to do something to mortgage, go all in on a particular prospect. Now, maybe they trade down, but I don't think that would be surprising, especially at 12. So I think the biggest shock might be them trading out of 30 for a team that wants to jump into the bottom of the first round because they want to get a quarterback on a fifth-year option. I'll go with that. Aaron, should the Packers go after Josh Rosen? Chris, I talked about that yesterday on this here stream, but I would tend to think no, just because of the fact that his contract would be coming up at the same time as Rodgers, and presumably, hopefully, he wouldn't be playing a whole heck of a lot, so you wouldn't get a whole lot out of that investment. Now, if they draft a quarterback, that's a whole other story, but trading for a guy who's been in the league for a year and then presumably would be up after your starter is up. I mean, unless, Rodgers does get injured again, then he has to play and he balls out, and all of a sudden it's a nice problem to have. Yes, David, rest in peace to Forrest Gregg, passing away at the age of 85 earlier this morning. Posted about it a bit on Cheesehead TV. I linked to Tom Silverstein's piece for PackersNews.com. Tom did an excellent job kind of laying out his career. Clearly one of the best players ever to lace him up in the green and gold. As Vince Lombardi wrote in Run to Daylight, one of the finest players, the finest player he ever had the honor to coach. Pretty much tells you the rarefied air that he was in as a player. You go back just earlier this morning, I was watching some of the old Packers sweeps in his honor. His athleticism, his ability, even as a bit of an undersized guy, even for those days, his ability to take on guys who are much bigger than him as defensive ends and then work up to the second level was a big part of making that sweep go. A play that, as anybody who's watched those Packers teams will tell you, and the guys who played in those games will tell you, everyone knew that play was coming. No one could stop it. The Packers made it go, and Forrest Gregg was a big part of that. Time to start looking at offensive tackle with Bulaga in the last year of his contract. Bryce, 100% yes. I do think Billy Turner is part of that equation. I don't think he's the heir apparent by any means, but I do think one of the reasons they paid him the way they did is because of his versatility and his ability to kick out to right tackle if Brian Bulaga does go down, and if, he obviously this last year of his deal, he moves on next year, you could presumably slide Turner over to right tackle if needs be. I don't think that's quote unquote the plan or the answer, but I do think that flexibility helps them. All of that said, I still think they will be looking at offensive tackle and or offensive line help in this draft, probably pretty early on. One thing you can always count on with the Packers, whether it is Brian Gutekunst or it was Ted Thompson, is looking towards next year's deals coming up the year before in the draft. Very often they like to draft replacements a year early, not necessarily to enable them to allow the guy to walk, but then, just to give them some leverage and some flexibility if things get out of hand contract wise. What's your opinion on Matt LaFleur so far, if any? It's hard to form one at this point. I appreciated his tweet honoring Forrest Gregg earlier this afternoon. But, as a coach, I think he's been exposed to a lot of really talented guys. I love the ideas that he's talking about, especially on the offensive side of the ball. But as a head coach, I have very little information to work on so far. So I'm cautiously optimistic. Let's go there. The Rise of Skywalker, Zach. That's what I'm talking about. Woo! If Jonah Williams, I love these what ifs. If Jonah Williams, Juwan Taylor, and TJ Hawkinson are there at 12, who would you take? Oh my gosh. Probably Hawkinson. But that's just me. I don't think the Packers will do that. Do you think Boyle will beat out Kaiser for the number 2 quarterback spot? Man, that's a tough call. I think the possibility is very, very real. I think Tim's got all the ability in the world. He's a turnover machine, though, much like Kaiser. And obviously, they're very different quarterbacks. But if you're talking about being a backup and having to come in and move the sticks, etc., and being able to play, in the confines of the system, I want the guy who at least can operate the offense and move the sticks and make something happen if things break down. And they tend to break down when you're a backup quarterback. So I tend to think, Kaiser's got probably a better shot at winning the number 2 spot than most people would probably think, even with his terrible showings last year. That said, maybe they draft somebody and they put him in the mix and they give another component to this, because I know people are enamored by Boyle, and he did some nice things last summer. I don't see much more than I think backup obviously is the height of his ceiling. I don't think he's a quality backup by any means. Maybe he makes a big jump from year 1 to year 2, like we see at other positions. But right now, I'm not sold on the backup quarterback spot, much if at all. Can you give us a full 7-round Packer mock, Nick? Yes, when I die. 2 more weeks, Nagler. Matthew, don't remind me. Thoughts on Rodgers in the Wilde and Tausch interview? I thought it was funny how they clearly started off with thanks for doing this, etc., and then, well, let's talk about the elephant in the room. We're going to talk about this article, and then Rodgers just unleashes. It's clear that he had a lot to say, that he wanted to say, but yeah, nothing surprising there. I thought he made some really good points. I thought the points about it always being the same 2 guys was pretty spot on. There were clearly other quotes that just weren't attributed in that piece. I really appreciated the fact that he went out of his way to praise Mike McCarthy and to ask Packer fans to give McCarthy the respect he is due. Really appreciated that from Aaron. But outside of that, I did find it funny that whoever that was that he met in Italy told him that was the only Packers bar in Europe. Come on, people. There is more than one Packers bar in Europe. Or I'm sorry, not in Italy. The Italian Packers fans tweeted about the fact that they have a Packers bar. It was the bar in Paris that he and Danica went to. The only Packers bar in Europe. Come on. Wasn't LaFleur Kaiser's QB or OC coach at Notre Dame? Yes, Ismail, they did work together, although not directly. And I believe that was Kaiser's redshirt year. What do you expect to see from Fackrell this season? He had a nice year in 2018. Ryan, I think he'll be in the mix. I think obviously you sign these 2 guys off the street, paid them a bunch of money. I think they are going to get a lot of run. That said, I do think Fackrell will work into the rotation, much like he did early on last year. And I think you'll see things in spurts, much like we did in 2018. I don't think we're ever going to see a guy who is a dominant pass rusher, but I do think, the athleticism is there. You definitely saw the production start to come out last year. I don't think I would be surprised if he led the team in sacks again, but you never know. Does 12 go John Wick this season then? Jordan, I have no idea. We'll see. I mean, we all talked about a Rodgers revenge tour last summer leading up to week 1, and then he got hurt. So that's how quickly things can change. I mean, yes, you would hope he comes in with a big chip on his shoulder and, it goes all Game of Thrones dragons on the army, but we'll see. Move Fackrell to middle linebacker. I'm not a fan of that idea. Belichick or Palpatine for most evil? I'm going to go with Palpatine on that one. If Rodgers doesn't get hurt, is McCarthy still the head coach? Sam, that's a really good question. I'll go even further. If Mason Crosby makes that kick against the Cardinals, is Mike McCarthy the head coach? I'll posit probably. Crazy how it all works, right? LaFleur said he'll do a bunch of formations. How will this work with Rodgers? Won't be much different than what we saw with McCarthy. I mean, you'll see a lot more condensed formations. Both LaFleur and Rodgers have mentioned that. And, you go through the tape of both, what LaFleur did last year in Tennessee and then what the Packers were doing. The Packers ran a lot of different formations, but they used a lot of spread stuff, obviously, with Mike McCarthy. I think the big difference you'll see two-back stuff a bit more. You'll see wide receivers and tight ends condensed into the formation more. But, as far as Rodgers is probably under center a little bit more. But I don't think his game changes that much. I think the big question is how much does LaFleur do in the sense of taking control away from Aaron? How much leeway does he give him at the line of scrimmage? How much does he harp on getting the ball out of his hand quickly, hitting that stuff rather than trying to push everything downfield so often, trying to find the underneath stuff, find the back underneath, etc. To me, that's the biggest difference, and that's kind of the focal point for LaFleur. Finn for free safety. I know Cobb is long gone, but is it weird that I'm bummed they never used him to run the option pass? Michael, they did twice that I can recall. Maybe more than that, but I know they definitely did it twice. But, I mean, maybe you're saying they didn't do it more. I mean, I get it, but at the same time, you don't want to take the ball out of Rodgers' hands to give it to your wide receiver to throw. Power rankings of Star Wars movies 1 through 8. Sam, I actually put a tweet up about that. But, it all starts with Empire Strikes Back and then New Hope. And then I'd probably go Solo and then Rogue One and then everything else. Probably Jedi and then everything else. Nags, do you think Ed Oliver being undersized will be an issue? No. I think he's a really good player, incredibly disruptive, really, really quick. And, I don't think his quote-unquote being undersized is going to be a problem at the NFL level. When do tickets go on sale? Andrew, are you talking about regular season tickets? I would imagine when they announce the regular season schedule, which will most likely be in a couple weeks. Which, by the way, if you're looking for tickets, use Ticket King. They work with us at Cheesehead TV. They do really, really great stuff. I've used them a few times for friends that have wanted to go to games at Lambeau. Ticket King is your one-stop shop if you're looking for Packers tickets. Don Hudson or Megatron. Who cares? The Force is strong with that Oliver. See, that is the proper way to do any kind of evaluation of college prospects. Okay, I got someone who's going to say hello because I've had so many freaking people say, "Where is this guy? Where is he? Where is he?" Look, he lives. There he is. Corey Banke, live.
What's going on right now?
And in the flesh.
I didn't know what you were. I thought you were having a meeting in here.
No, I'm doing my chat, my extra cheese chat. See, Corey Banke, people.
What's up, people?
He's alive. Banke, what's up? Everyone's very excited, Corey. As you can tell, Corey is in his element. Very busy running his empire. Banke's kind of a Palpatine himself. Anyway, Corey. Was Palpatine just hiding on some beach waiting for Snoke to fail? Michael, here's my theory, right? So now we've heard Palpatine laugh, and then Ian McDermott comes out at Celebration and says, run it again, blah, blah, blah. So it's clear Palpatine's involved somehow in the film. But everyone's assuming like he didn't die or he's back or he never, went away, etc. But can't he just be a Force ghost the way any other Jedi is? I mean, we've all heard about communing with the Force and Qui-Gon found the way, etc., etc. Yoda comes back. Obi-Wan comes back. We've seen Anakin appear as a Force ghost, etc. How come the dark side can't do it? And I'm sure there's all this canon nonsense or maybe legend stuff where, this is impossible for a dark Jedi to do. But all that's out the window now. Like Ryan Johnson said, kill the past. I mean, I that's my theory, is that somehow Palpatine comes back as a Force ghost and helps tie all this together. He doesn't care about us. Banky cares about you very much. He's just a very busy man. Banky, miss your passion about special teams. Woo! What do you think of Daniel Jones? It's interesting how polarizing he can be online. I think NFL teams probably like him a lot more than a lot of the internet evaluators, put it gently. I don't love him. I think he's got stuff you can work with, and I wouldn't be surprised. I think he is a prime example of a guy who needs to land in the right situation, right scheme, right coach. Some guys can transcend that stuff. I don't think he's one of those guys, but I do think people go a little bit overboard in their criticisms. I think he can make it in the league. I think a big part of it is going to be who his coach is, what he's asked to do, and who his teammates are. Sith Ghost on that piece of the Death Star. Book it. Yeah, Brad. I'm down with that. What are your thoughts on using a tight end in the slot on a regular basis? I don't know about a regular basis. I like it as kind of mixing things up, but the slot concept gets so kind of blown out of proportion, I think, when people are talking about it online or what have you. You can run anybody in there. You can put a running back in there. You can put Devontae Adams in there. Hell, put David Bakhtiari in there. No, don't. I think, this idea that, yes, you could put a tight end in the slot with regularity. That's fine. Who is it? We've seen Jimmy Graham has not exactly got the wheels that he used to. And it's not like he can probably take the punishment that's necessary when you're going over the middle, doing some of that short stuff. But yeah, he's not exactly a sudden athlete, right? So who exactly? Bob Tonyan? Are you going to ask him to do it? Maybe Hawkinson if he gets drafted. Maybe Fant. I don't know. We'll see. If Maul can survive being sliced in half, Palpatine can survive the Death Star. Makes perfect sense to me, Doug. Do I think Rey is a Skywalker? No, I do not. McCarthy for slot receiver. Woo, nice. How do you feel J.K. Scott did in his rookie year? Special teams were such a mess. Do you think he got caught in all of that? I don't think it was so much the fact that special teams were a mess. I do think he was highly inconsistent, and I don't think having a special teams coach who really wasn't concerned with the technicalities of punting helped him a whole lot. Ron Zook, God bless him, he's a fun guy, but he's not exactly a stickler for detail. And I think that in that sense, yes, he got caught having a coach who probably didn't coach him hard and or if at all when it came to the technicalities of the position he plays. So I think he's got a lot of God-given ability. I'm interested to see if he can just get a little bit more consistent, especially later in the season when the weather turns. Jar Jar Binks is a Skywalker. That's probably my favorite YouTube comment ever. Share and subscribe, people. Andrew's here preaching the truth, telling the gospel. That's what I like to hear, Andrew. Thank you, buddy. I've never seen Star Wars. That's good, Jimmy. You should fix that. Did you watch some kicker tape yet? No, I will not be watching kicker tape. If they draft somebody, maybe I'll watch some kicker tape. But really, they have one job. They have one job. That's the only job I need to know about is available in the box score. 6 for 6, great. 0 for 6, bad. Did you think Raji could play the slot? Now we're getting to it. Now we're getting to the good stuff. Zook was part of the dark side of the Force. Hey, Ryan, what's up? When's the Grassi versus Nagler matchup? Matthew, that'll happen after the draft, but it will happen. Do not worry. New glasses? About 2 years ago, I want to say, or last year. Best restaurant in Green Bay is Corey Banky's living room when he's making old fashions. No, I don't know. I only ever live at Kroll's, so don't ask me. Is Chelsea worth watching if Hazard leaves? No. Nice. What do you think about the inside linebacker position leading up to the draft? And will we add some depth at that position? Brandon, that is an excellent question. I think part of that will be what type of talent is available when they're on the clock. I do think there's a good chance that they draft somebody. However, it's really hard to say with what kind of fervor they're going to pursue adding talent there without really getting a good read on Oren Burks. Clearly, they used a pretty significant pick on him last year. Didn't get a whole lot out of it last year. They need him to make that year 1 to year 2 jump. He's got all the athleticism in the world. He really just needs to work on getting off the blocks. Fan theory, Zook is Palpatine secretly working for the Bears. I'd buy that. Greg Jennings is a Sith apprentice. I love all this. This is great. Devin Bush, question mark. Nick, my only question with him is how undersized he is, especially considering, I don't know, how the league is going. I know you want guys who are really quick and take great angles to the ball, which he does. He's a sure tackler, disruptor. I love all of that. I do wonder about his ability to hold up against some of the power stuff he's going to see in the NFL. But I really like him as a player. And it's that whole projection thing. I say this all the time, but that's where these guys make their money. It's easy to watch college tape and say, that guy's good, that guy's bad, or that guy is going to be a really good player in the NFL. But how do they project? How do they work in your scheme? How do they work against NFL-level competition, which is the best of the best, the 1% that you're facing down in and down out Sunday after Sunday, as opposed to an NFL season where you're facing a lot of scrubs in the sense of the guys you'll be playing in the NFL on a week-to-week basis. So that's the part where I always kind of check out, because I don't know what the hell I'm looking at when it comes to projecting to the NFL level from college tape. And the best of the best, who are all working for NFL teams, that's what they get paid the big bucks to do. Thoughts on the unproductive Rashawn Gary being a first-round pick? Bryce, my thought is I have talked to a couple of people who work for NFL teams, one for the Packers and one for somebody else, who don't think he's going to go in the first round. So we'll see. I mean, I've seen everything. It's funny, though. The mocks, I think, like 2 months ago, had him going top 10. And now I see him kind of settling down into the lower part of the first round. I wouldn't be surprised if he slides out of the first round. And I also wouldn't be surprised if he gets chosen in the top 10, because it only takes one team. So we'll see. Better pure pass rusher, KGB or Clay Matthews? Clay Matthews every time. Mike, yes. Nags, yes. TGIF, yes. Banky is back from Vegas. Mike, you just missed him. He was here. He was standing right here. Corey Banky in the house. All right, everybody. I'm going to have to jump. It is Friday. I got to get going. Got to pick up my girls. We're going to go see Dumbo. Not that you're not all lovely, but I much prefer their company. I hope you all had a great week here on the old Extra Cheese Chats. Packers Daily will be back next week, and along with some more extra cheeses. Thanks so much. And if I impart nothing else to you, other than the fact that The Rise of Skywalker is out in December, hit like, hit subscribe to this channel. We want to get 20,000 subscribers by the time the draft happens. That's in 2 weeks. I got 2 weeks, people, to jump about 10,000 subs. So let's do it. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell strangers. Hell, go into Best Buy, go on computers, build fake Google accounts, and hit subscribe on the Cheesehead TV YouTube page. That's all I'm asking. It's a simple request. And for everyone who has already, thank you so much. It means the world to me. Thanks a lot, everybody. Have a great weekend.